All right, thank you so much. Welcome to the tape group today. Welcome to the Tree of Life tape group. I'm happy that you joined today in this edition that is quite dedicated to John 8 today, and all the references that Joel brings into the subject of today, and that's knowing God aright. And that's, of course, the thing that we practice, that thing that we want to come into full realization of. And we continue with that. It's like that. So we continue coming to the place where that's actually being revealed to us. Because we cannot do that ourselves. We don't have to find the way to God. No, God knows the way to us. But we just have to open up to it, open our minds, open our hearts, open our consciousness for a different experience of ourselves. And this we practice. So today we start with the John 8 Contemplation, and the John 8 Contemplation is a beautiful possibility to hear Jesus speak directly to you, because I literally took out the expressions of Jesus in the John 8, and so that's what we're going to undergo or be actively in participating, you could say, by actively opening our minds to receive that. Now, when I say that, it is like John 8 is probably familiar to you. You have heard it, but that doesn't take away that you can discover something that is completely new and fresh today. And that's what I love to invite you to open up for. And I think that could be the start of the contemplation. So we prepared it, and so Michelle's reciting it in French. I'm doing that in English, and so we're starting the contemplation. Thank you. John 8. And Jeshua spoke again with them, and he said, I am the living God, the light of the world. Whoever follows me shall not walk in darkness, but shall find the light of life. I am the living God, I who testify about myself, and my Father who has sent me has testified about me. And he said to them, You are from below, and I am from above. You are from this world, I am not from this world. I said to you that you shall die in your sins, for unless you shall believe that I am the living God, you shall die in your sins. Jeshua spoke again to them, When you have lifted up the Son of Man, then you shall know that I am the living God, and I do nothing for my own pleasure, just as my Father has taught me. So I am speaking, and he who has sent me is with me, and my Father has not left me alone, because I am doing always what is beautiful to him. Jeshua said to them, Timeless truth I speak to you. Whoever commits a sin is a servant of sin, and the servant does not always remain in the house, but the son always remains. If the Son therefore will set you free, you will truly be the children of liberty. Jeshua said to them, A timeless truth I speak to you. Before Abraham would exist, I am the living God.
Je ne suis pas de ce monde. Jésus leur parla de nouveau et dit, Je suis le Dieu vivant. Je suis la lumière du monde. Celui qui me suit ne marchera pas dans les ténèbres, mais il aura la lumière de la vie. Je suis le Dieu vivant. Je rends témoignage de moi-même et le Père qui m'a envoyé rend témoignage de moi. Et il leur dit, vous êtes d'en bas, moi je suis d'en haut. Vous êtes de ce monde, moi je ne suis pas de ce monde. C'est pourquoi je vous ai dit que vous mourrez dans vos péchés. Car si vous ne croyez pas que je suis le Dieu vivant, vous mourrez dans vos péchés. Jésus donc leur dit, quand vous aurez élevé le Fils de l'homme, alors vous connaîtrez que je suis le Dieu vivant et que je ne fais rien de moi-même, mais que je parle selon ce que le Père m'a enseigné. Celui qui m'a envoyé est avec moi et il ne m'a pas laissé seul parce que je fais toujours ce qui lui est agréable. En vérité, je vous le dis, leur répliqua Jésus, quiconque se livre au péché est esclave du péché. Or, l'esclave ne demeure pas toujours dans la maison. Le Fils y demeure toujours. Si donc le Fils vous affranchit, vous serez réellement libres. Jésus leur dit, en vérité, je vous le dis, avant qu'Abraham fût, je suis le Dieu vivant.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in this meditation of contemplation. So this is John 8, and maybe it's a good idea to take a little look at it, because what is being expressed is this idea of dying in your sins, and like who's a servant of sin dies in his sin. Now this is a fundamental idea that Jesus is conveying, but you have to get it right in order for it to have meaning. So that's why I want to take a look at that, because what then actually is sin? If I'm a servant of sin, now this is actually the idea of time. Like when you're a servant of time, when you believe the ephemeral to be everything for you, when you base your trust in time-related ideas, when you look for your security in time-related things, in your body, in your whatever gives security for you, whatever tells you something about yourself that you value, all that is really in fact the idea of time or time-related ideas. Now that is, in that sense, that is sin. So if Jesus says those who are servants of sin literally are servants of time, who no matter what, they want that to be their reality, because basically you choose that then as your reality. Now in our healing vision, in our, say, coming to a new revelation regarding the truth of you, then we know that I'm not of this world. Well, what is this world? This world is time-related ideas. Everything I place in it, everything that is based on my idea that I'm this, and walking around in time and space for a while until the final hour has come, is literally what sin is. So it's not so much that you do things that are wrong, it is just you do things that have nothing to do with the reality of who you are. That's why it's a sin. It's like it's off the mark, as it says in the original Aramaic translation of the book. It's like it's off the mark. It's literally misses the goal, because it doesn't align with the purpose of the universe. Now there's nothing wrong with that, discovering that, but also there's nothing wrong with being in that and realizing it. It is just, Jesus gives you an invitation to come to the truth of you, to come to know who you truly are. Now, knowing God aright is then essential. That is the basis of knowing yourself to be a total part of that. Recognizing yourself as the I am. I'm the living God. Like, that is a definition, like that's literally a statement or a realization of the truth of you. Everything else is an idea of being of this mark, of this alignment with the truth, and that's why it's called sin. And so yeah, that's, as long as you place your safety, you look for your comfort and your safety in time-related ideas, you're not going to be in the house. What he says too, it's like you're not in the house, like you're somewhere else, but not where you belong. You're in a different place than where you truly belong. Now that is the change, that is the transition that you're in literally letting the words of Joel resonate with you, with the truth of you, and actually coming into a whole different experience that is set free of the ideas of time. And we say the fourth dimension, or going out of time. And why is that so important? Because that's where your reality is. This has nothing to do with your reality. This is in fact, a place where you recognize none of this is so. I don't belong here. I'm not of this world. I find myself in time, but I'm going to release my ideas about this place in order to come to an open consciousness in which I'm recognizing that I'm, perfectly communicating with what is. Now that is exactly why we're here. That's exactly why we are listening to the tapes of Joel, because Joel says it in his own way, and like today also, like an absolutely beautiful tape. He brings that in continuously. This idea, John 8. John 8 is one part of it. Like, there's more biblical references, but the John 8 part is like he uses the one sentence that I haven't used in the Contemplation. That's this: the truth. You have to come to know the truth, because the truth is setting you free. Nothing else can set you free. Like, no temporal idea can set you free. No, none of that. All the value that you have placed in that needs to be released, and you will release it, because in fact you are home in heaven. This has never happened in that sense. It has no reality. Now that's huge, and that's huge to let that in, to realize, to come to the realization that there's a complete alternative. And in order to come to that, you have to individually accept that. Now this is one part that's really great in the talk, and I'll get my sheet up here. So here's from the tape. It says, the rest that I use is from the book, but here from the tape: to know God aright is life eternal. That does bring harmony. Infinite, eternal harmony with no change, like with no change. It's infinite, eternal harmony. Peace into the life of those that make contact, who come to know God aright. And each one individually, emphasize, must approach God and learn God aright for themselves. It can never happen, like it can never be a collective experience. I'll come back to that. It can never be a collective experience. Like, you have to accept this for yourself individually. It is a subjective experience of singular reality. It can never be an experience that can come to anyone by joining anything, by being a member of anything, by going to a church or who knows what. Like, it is an experience that has to take place within each individual. Now, I took this out, of course. Like, I literally think this is so fundamental and so important to recognize. Like, we don't go to a church. We don't do this together in that sense. We come together to have an individual experience of our connectedness. And now here's the great thing. It's like, in that, receiving that for yourself, when that occurs, you see that is communicating literally with everything. It's no more limited to your individuality. No, but it's still, you are the one experiencing it, but you experience it as being totally connected with everyone and everything. So that's not a collective experience, but it's an experience of the collective. Like, that's literally what you experience. Everyone is already there. Like, we're all there. In the oneness experience, everyone is present. That makes it a little bit easier to get an idea about it. But so the individual part is really essential, because no one else can do it for you. Nobody can teach you how to do this. No, it is your invitation. It's you opening your consciousness, and then it can occur. Then naturally it occurs. So that is not an accomplishment on your part. It's more like you release your ideas. There's no real doing connected to it at all. You release your ideas, your consciousness opens. There's the God experience. Like, and that's a surprise, because you didn't expect that to come, but it comes to you. God knows his way to you. You don't have to tell God how he should come to you. And that's a part that you don't really like as a human being, because you would love to do that yourself. Like, if I try hard enough, it will work. Like, no, it's not going to happen. No, it is. Or if I go to church enough, then that will happen. If I, like this, we have been trying to do that. If I separate myself off enough from society, then I might be able to do it. Like, no, that's not the way to do it either. So no, it doesn't work by your ways. Now what? So this is the part that's really essential, very fundamental. All right. So Joel shares in the Consciousness Transformed book that I use here to know God Aright. All right, so here we go. Continue to know God Aright. So this is from April 7, 1963, Halekulani Hotel, Honolulu. Okay, you can lose the gift of spiritual healing if you believe that spiritual healing is dependent on what an individual does or does not do. As if you get a result of your actions, as if your motivation does matter. It doesn't. The truth of God is not dependent on what man does. It is dependent on man's awareness. Now, I took this out. He shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. John 8. That was what I also said. Like, the thing that happens here is, the truth of God is not dependent on what man does. It's dependent on man's awareness. Because this is all consciousness. This is all taking place in your consciousness. And I love to share something about it. It's like everything that has to do with where are you in your awareness? Where do you place your value? Like we said, placing it on temporal things, you get the result of that. So you literally identify as a temporal being. That's not what you are, but you believe that you are because you literally value it. You literally see the world that you want to see. In other words, now here's the other choice. It's not really a choice because it's basically the only thing that is real about you. No time-related ideas, no time-related identity. So everything that you've believed so far about yourself have no basis in eternity. Literally, it has nothing to do with eternity, as if you never thought anything about yourself. Like all your thoughts about yourself and all the considerations that you had about yourself need to be released in order to have a different experience, the one that is real about you. This becomes your life eternal. This is your heaven. This is your peace. This is you as a living God. And where's that happening? Here, right now. That's happening right here, right now. It has nothing to do with your considerations, your motivations, all your actions and your good intentions to make it work, or so that is devastating for a human being. Trying to do this is devastating. It's not easy, because you have placed value on your temporal things. Otherwise you would give everything away. That's what Jesus says, by the way. Jesus says, give everything away. You don't need it. It's not adding anything to you. No, it literally stops you from seeing where you truly are. You step right into the idea of time and sin, which is the same idea, as I said. It's like you place your value in temporal ideas, and that's not going to take you out of this world where you truly belong. Now, this is the time that the invitation comes straight at you with, what on earth are you doing here? Why are you placing value in temporal ideas while you know that God doesn't know anything about it? Don't you want to know who you truly am? Yes, I'm the living God. I want to know what that means. I want to experience that in my consciousness. I want to experience that as my whole reality. And I really don't care whatever temporal idea I lose in this. Why would I care about that if I see that it adds nothing to the reality of who I truly am? Is God sustaining me? Yes. Of course. Is God loving me? Yes, absolutely. He is the love that created me. Is God happy with his Son? Yes, absolutely. He's very well pleased in his Son. You think you need something extra outside of that? You think you need your temporal ideas and the love of God together as some kind of mix of... at least I hold on to that a little bit too, and then I have my God too. Like, no. That simply isn't possible. You believe your temporal ideas, or you let them go and come into the full realization of who you truly are. There's no middle way in that sense. There's no two ways about this. Therefore, the moment you see any human condition as being either punishable by God or not subject to God for any reason, you lose it. You must be able to bring the saint and the sinner, the enlightened and the ignorant, into truth. Into truth, bring it into truth in your consciousness, not anywhere else. You don't have to convince anyone of doing this. So that's why I'm teaching myself in expressing this. Like here, if I use my perception, if I use my ears and my eyes in order to look at the world and see what's going on, I can easily find something that I really don't like and that I would love to punish, to judge, because it's what I'm seeing. I value it. That's why I'm seeing it. So to me, it's very important how people do. Is it really? Well, then you have a real problem. If you really care about how that is working out, then there's a problem with you including it in as this is all duality. This is all just reflections of what is happening and basically in what I'm thinking. If I see differences, I'm already lost in time. I find myself in sin and I will find a victim and I find the one who did it. Like I literally, that happens immediately if I trust what I see, if I trust what I hear, if I let that lead me and let that stir up my emotions, my hate and my grievances. Like if I let that occur, I'm caught in time. I'm literally pulled back into the idea that there's something here for me that is more worthy than the perfection of the reality of who I am. It is as simple as that, and it's as difficult as that at the same time. So that's why we're here. We're practicing this, practicing in the sense of, oh yeah. I have to remember this, and I should not forget this, because I was really judging my neighbor just an hour ago, or 2 minutes ago, or who knows what you think. But see, that's all investment in time, and you think your judgment matters and that it has an importance. Man, you're lost. You're really lost. You think you should know what is the best to happen in your country, or what your president is doing, or who knows what your considerations. You have an idea about it that you really think has an importance. You place yourself into a temporal idea, and you suffer the consequences of it in every aspect of it, because there's no halfway. It's not that you can choose 20% of that frame of reference. No, it's either that, or it is letting your consciousness be opened for the love of God, which would show you a whole different world, without contrast, without duality, without opposites, like without all of that, but coming in the realization of your peace, and seeing that everything is given in this instant. It's complete and whole. So literally it opens up a wholeness of your mind. It shows you, my God, I really thought something was wrong. And that was purely based on what I was seeing. And I was only seeing what I valued. And that was all. Now, there's work to do, obviously. Work to do in the sense of releasing, letting go. So Joel helps us with that too, of course. So one more expression, I think. But see, these are good. That's great stuff to take a look at. Here's an expression. The greater the ability to relax in the assurance that God really is in omnipotence, omnipresence, omniscience, the greater will be your healing capacity, because the attitude and the altitude of consciousness that relinquishes the beliefs in two powers is the activity that restores harmony. Now you think, okay, so restores harmony in my life? Oh, okay, great. Yeah, I'm gonna relax into that. Like, yeah, now here, that's great. I think I found it. Like now I'm relaxing into that, and now harmony comes back into my dream because I follow the instructions that Joel is giving. No, not true. That's not what Joel says. This is one that is like clouding the whole message of Joel Goldsmith, you could say, thinking that it has something to do with how you are being able to make your temporal life more comfortable, more balanced, more secure, more abundant. We would love that. Open it, yeah, let it in, open up. And Joel will not confirm that to you. And neither do I. It's like it has literally nothing to do. No, the harmony that is coming to you in experiencing all your alignment with truth is your freedom of this world. It's literally setting you free of this world belief. That means it takes away the concern about all these things. Does that mean that you suddenly have more money in the bank, that you suddenly have this, have that? No. Don't look for the temporal expression of it, because this is an inner affair. It is literally bringing the abundance in your experience, recognizing your true function, recognizing your pure communication with God, with your Creator, that bringing you to fulfillment and completedness. Now, what is it that you want above that? Nothing. Like, that is completely sufficient. Thy grace is my sufficiency. It doesn't say thy grace is my sufficiency, and a lot of other stuff I need with that too, by the way. Like, no. Thy grace is my sufficiency. If I stay aligned with truth, what can possibly come to me? But that what is mine already. Now this is the message, really. This is knowing God aright. And that's, you see what happens just in looking at three expressions. Like, this whole thing opens up. This whole thing of, yeah, what am I supposed to do now then in my daily life? Like, what am I supposed to do with that? Like, you don't have to do anything with it. You are just invited to take moments during the day to, in fact, allow truth to be true. And the situations that you step into, you allow them to be whole. Not making differences, not making judgments, not making anything real that is temporal, but seeing the situation in a whole different light. That's the invitation. So Jill will say this to us too, and he will certainly express this in his Jill Goldsmith way. So let's listen to that.
Good evening. I'm very much encouraged as a result of our class this afternoon to carry this work a step further. But in doing so, I will have to tell you in advance that the lesson in and of itself will do you no good unless you experiment with it, work with it, practice it, to note the results or fruitage that you get. And for that purpose, it will be wiser for you not to discuss it with anyone, not even among yourselves, but to do your work alone, to see how the fruitage appears in your experience, or we might put it this way, that there may be a time element involved as well as one of effort and dedication before you even attain the slightest unfoldment. And the reason is that to carry our work a step further than we did today, you will have to go into entirely new spiritual territory. This has to do with a scriptural passage regarding God, where it says, to know him aright is life eternal. Now you have to think very carefully about that passage. Why should Scripture say to know him aright? Is there a possibility that you do not know him aright, or that those to whom it was addressed did not know him aright? Well, of course, the answer is that in the religious world of the last 5,000 years, God has not been known aright except about 4 times for very brief periods. In our Western religious world, the only record or records of God having been known aright was in part of the revelation of Jesus Christ and that of John. Aside from these two, there is no record anywhere that I know of in the last 2,500 years in which God has been known aright. And of course, if you say, how do you know that? Then we quote the rest of the passage. To know him aright is life eternal, meaning harmony, wholeness, completeness, perfection, immortality, just what it says, eternality. There can't be eternality where there is imperfection or where there is death or disease, which is the forerunner of death. Now, the pagans of old worshiped God through rites and sacrifices and petitions. Their prayers were almost all petitions. And they hoped to give power to their petitions by their sacrifices and their rituals. And this has been the form of religion which has been perpetuated from that day to this without any change. Probably the only change is in degree. In other words, there's no longer a sacrifice of human life or animals, except such as may be sacrificed on feast days. But aside from that, there has been no change in the religious practices of the last 2,500 years. Now, to know God aright is life eternal. It does bring harmony, infinite, eternal harmony, peace, into the lives of those who make that contact, who come to know God aright. And each one individually must approach God and learn God aright for themselves. It can never be a collective experience. It can never be an experience that can come to anyone by joining anything or by being members of anything. It is an experience that has to take place within each individual. And you may accomplish it if your dedication is of sufficient degree, and 1,000 may fall at your left and 10,000 at your right. You may attain it, and not another member of your family or your friends or your community. On the other hand, if you do attain it, you will help others in their attainment. Now, the first step is to recognize that you cannot influence God. That God is not going to obey any orders that you give. God is not going to answer any petitions that you make. God is not going to be influenced by man at all. God can influence man, but man cannot influence God. Who has told God how to run the stars and the sun and the moon and the earth? Who has sufficient wisdom to tell God anything? You will find in our textbook, The Infinite Way, that this message is based primarily on two words: as and is. There is not God and man. There is not God and a universe. There is an infinite God, an infinite, all-inclusive God, appearing as individual being, appearing as this universe. God is appearing as, God is manifested as. God is not incarnate in, but God is incarnated as individual being, individual life. And God is. There is no way under the sun of starting God, of getting God to do something. God is and always has been and always will be. God is from everlasting to everlasting. And there is no one that can stop God being God, and there is no one that can start God doing something tomorrow, or tonight, or a moment from now. God is no respecter of persons. God cannot be directed to an individual. God cannot be petitioned to do something. Ah, yes, God can be petitioned if one wishes to waste their time. God is, and that which God is now. And not only is now, but is here. The place whereon thou standest is holy ground. Thou seest me, thou seest the Father that sent me, for I and the Father are one. Omnipresence is spiritual truth. There is no place where God is not. Therefore, God cannot be brought to any place. When Solomon said that his entire temple couldn't hold him, he well knew God as omnipresence. He well knew that the place whereon thou standest is holy ground. Just as we later read, whither shall I flee from thy spirit? If I mount up to heaven, thou art there. If I make my bed in hell, thou art there. If I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art there. Where is God not? And the answer is, God is, and God is omnipresence. And in the same breath, God is omnipotence. Therefore, there is no power, and never has been a power, to oppose the will of God. Therefore, there is no power to be set aside, no power to be overcome, no power to be destroyed. God is, and beside God, there is nothing. Is there any other God, says Isaiah? Is there any other but the one, the I, the me? I know not any. There is but one power. To know God aright means to catch a glimpse. Not merely to affirm this, not merely to declare it, not even to believe it. One must go further than that. One must actually glimpse. One must spiritually discern or feel inwardly that God is. Beside him, there is no other. Thou, Pilate, could have no power. Put not your faith in princes. Cease ye from man whose breath is in his nostril. I shall not fear mortal man or what he can do to me. All of these must be spiritually discerned within your own consciousness. It must be clear to you. And whether that takes one day or whether that takes 10 years of your time, that is the place in consciousness to which you must come, so that ultimately you reach a state of relaxation, such as is indicated in the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. And you can go all through that psalm without finding an appeal to God for anything, without a request, without a demand, without a hope or an expectation, but throughout the entire psalm is a calm, clear assurance. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for there is no power there but God. We all walk through that veil. Every mystic, every spiritual revelator, whether he attained the heights of a Lao Tzu, a Gautama Buddha, a Jesus Christ, a St. John, each one in his turn has walked through that door. And they have feared no evil. It is one of those grand experiences of those last moments when the inner assurance comes that this is but the passing from one door or through one door into another consciousness, another mansion of God. If it were not so, I would have told you. For I go to prepare a place for you. This very divine consciousness, this transcendental consciousness of which we spoke today, this goes before you, whether traveling on this plane or another. Therefore, to know God aright means to stop all of the mental efforts to reach God, to influence God, to try to gain God's blessing, and to be able to relax in the assurance that God is, and that where I am, God is. Up in hell, up in heaven, down in hell, or the valley of the shadow of death. Where God is, I am And this is enough to know. But to discern it, to glimpse it with spiritual vision means to be able to relax and to seek no powers. Now, the ancients always were seeking to use this superpower, whether they spoke of it as deity or deities. They always sought to invoke that power to do something for them on earth. If it wasn't changing the weather, supplying more fish or more cattle or game, or removing something or somebody, always they were seeking to invoke deity. And religion has followed that right up to the present time. Although it is beginning now to change. Letters are being sent out, messages are being sent out through many, many churches urging that those practices be stopped and that individuals realize what God is, where God is, and how God functions. To bring harmony into our lives individually means to perceive that God is infinite intelligence and therefore knoweth our needs, even before we do. It is to acknowledge that God is love and that it is His good pleasure to give us the kingdom, and then to relax in those passages of the Masters. To bring harmony into our experience means to release ourselves from every attempt to use God power and to relax and let the Spirit within us use us, flow through us, act through us. I can of my own self do nothing, therefore why try? I can of my own self do nothing, therefore why waste time and energy? The Father within me doeth the work. Then it is necessary that we be relaxed mentally, that we let go of our attempts to use God, to influence God, to direct God, to advise God, to please God or placate God. Relinquish all of this and rest. Rest in the assurance that underneath are the everlasting arms. I will never leave thee, nor forsake thee. Only when the mind is at rest, that is, resting from trying to acquaint God with our needs, to influence God, to bring them to us. Only when the mind is at rest in the assurance, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Only in this relaxed state can we hear the still small voice, which sometimes isn't quite so still as you might think. He uttereth His voice, and the earth melteth. he uttereth his voice. This leaves no room for your voice or mine. This leaves us at peace with an inner assurance that we can be still in quietness and in confidence find our peace. In stillness, in quietness, in confidence, the Lord is my shepherd. Here where I am, thou art. Wherever thou art, I am, because we are inseparable and indivisible eternally. Not from the cradle to the grave, but all the eons before we were born, and all of the ages after we seem to have passed, I and the Father are one from everlasting to everlasting, for God changeth not. The life of God is an eternal life, and it is your life and mine. The mind of God never wavers. And the mind of God is your mind and mine, because there is only one life and only one mind. There is only one intelligence, and when we are still, that intelligence can operate as our individual mind and wisdom. When we are still, that one life is apparent as our individual life. To know God aright means to understand that God is the, shall we call it, intelligent activity of this universe, the intelligence, the creative and maintaining and sustaining principle, and then relax and let that principle operate the original revelation that was given to me that made my own healing ministry a very great success was that evil, error in any form, is impersonal. Now this is contrary to all of the teachings that we have on earth today, but it has proven itself in 30 years of this work. It has proven itself since it was first published 14 years ago by its tremendous acceptance in so many parts of the world, that healings can be accomplished in proportion as the healer impersonalizes the evil and does not accept the appearance that evil is in a certain person called you, he or she. Anyone attempting spiritual healing work to really be successful must understand that there is not now and never has been an evil man or woman on the face of the globe, including Judas Iscariot, that all evil is impersonal, and that in our ignorance of that, we permit ourselves to be avenues of any and every form of evil. On this last trip, we arrived in San Francisco simultaneously with the flu epidemic that was flowing up from Southern California, and it really struck proportions beyond your belief. And we met this at every stop from Sacramento down to Los Angeles. And everywhere, in the experience of those who called on us for help, the stand had to be taken that this is impersonal. You didn't create it, and you didn't do anything within yourself to create it. And it has no power except as we personalize it and think of it as being in you or of you or caused by you, even if we were to accept the belief that your wrong thinking did it to you, or the 2 weeks old baby who got it. No, if you follow the subject of spiritual healing far enough, you will witness that no one is responsible for their ills except the responsibility that we all have by virtue of our ignorance. But aside from that, any evil, whether it appears as sin, false appetite, disease, old age, not one bit of this has its origin in you, or in him or in her. As you learn this, you will watch more and more how your healing power will develop. And it really will not be a healing power. It will be that your understanding of this impersonal source of any and every evil is that which dissolves the appearances. Now, you have to go a step further than that if you wish to maintain yourself harmoniously, and if you wish to serve in some way to lessen the sins and diseases, the lacks and the limitations on earth. Now, at first glance, you may think that one individual can't really accomplish much in the direction of saving a world. But I would like to tell you of an individual who, within these past few months, will probably be responsible for saving tens of millions of lives on the face of this globe. I'm sure you have read a great deal in the papers about the explosion of population and how our great minds have decided that the only solution is to kill off the population. Let the people of India and China, all of the overpopulated countries, die of starvation, and then let's murder the unborn babies. Legally, of course. And then those of us who survive all of that mass murder, we can divide up the food that's on the earth and survive. But you see, when an individual is living in accord with the Spirit of God, they receive solutions to problems that do not involve murder or theft or pillaging. And so it is that one man has discovered a process of drawing water from the sea for such a small price that now every desert in the world, every wilderness in the world can be made to blossom like the rose for just a few cents. And the machinery necessary for this has already been built in the United States. Now, this means that we won't have to murder these unborn babes. Our brainy men can take their brains and blow them out if they like. They're not of any value to anybody after this fiasco that they've made. We won't have to murder them, and we won't have to let the Chinese and the Asians and the Hindus perish from hunger, for it'll only be a short time until there will be enough food in Israel to feed half the world. For it was a man in Israel who made this discovery, brought it to the United States to have it built by one of our large machinery companies, and it is built and completed. Will soon be in operation.
Well, that was an interesting angle, certainly. Thank you, Joel, for your sharing. So I'd like to thank you for joining us today in the Knowing God Aright, and that is an individual happening. That's what we discover, and that's what Joel is sharing with us. So bringing that back to ourselves is where this is about. Now, that is entering into an experience of life eternal. It has nothing so much, like it has nothing to do with a world that needs to be repaired in that sense. So you see, whatever seems to be happening in the world right now, you see that reflection of conflict, of terror, of starvation. That's just an idea that keeps perpetuating itself. And if you identify with that world, then you have your experience with that. Then it places you in this world. Now, to let the situation, to let this moment, it's not the situation, but to let this moment be healed, be whole, is all that is asked of you. Now that comes to you as an opportunity, as an invitation not to do anything in order to repair it, but to come into your experience with the peace of God by literally going on an adventure to discover that. So with that, I say thank you so much for joining us today in the tape group. The thing that I need to tell you is that there's like 2 weeks where we don't have a tape group because of the summer season. So there's a bit of a break, and we meet each other after that. So it's like at the end of July. No, not completely. 16th or so. 16th of July we see each other again. I think that's the date. But I can be off slightly. So I'll send you an email, of course, when it starts again. But next week there will not be a tape group. The week after that also not. So in 3 weeks we meet each other again in the tape group. So thank you for everything, and bye for now.